today I'm determined that you're going to see something about who you really are, your true nature, and who you've been believing yourself to be all these years.
I remember the first time I read these words by Michael Singer. You said to your mind, I want everyone to like me. I don't want anyone to speak badly of me. I want everything I say and do to be acceptable and pleasing to everyone. I don't want anyone to hurt me. I don't want anything to happen that I don't like. And I want everything to happen that I do like. Then you said, now mind, figure out how to make every one of these things a reality, even if you have to think about it day and night. And of course your mind said, I'm on the job. I will work on it constantly. These words shocked me and caused me to ask myself, did I really do that? Did I instruct my mind to be so controlling? That's when I realized the defensive and fearful part of me that's always trying to protect itself, the ego. Not only did I recognize it in me, but for the first time I understood why everyone is the way they are. This is why it feels so difficult to let go. You're so used to operating in a state of resistance that you've forgotten how to relax and work with life instead of against it. You're spending so much of your precious life energy on trying to control the uncontrollable, and it's making you miserable and exhausted.
Now there's a lot there, so let's unpack it a little bit more and really get into what this is pointing to in our experience. Apparently, we've told our mind, I only want things to happen that I like. I don't want things to happen that I don't like. So what does that mean for us, practically speaking? Well, it means that you want control over life. You want life to unfold according to your preference. And what happens when it doesn't? When it doesn't, you get upset. You get fearful and anxious and read all kinds of things into it that aren't actually happening. Let's take an example. Let's say that you've had an experience of somebody leaving you. Perhaps it was a parent when you were younger, or a partner that you loved very much. They left you and you had this feeling of abandonment without realizing it. From that moment, you may have told your mind, I don't want that to happen anymore. That was a horrible feeling. Make sure that doesn't happen anymore. Let's say you meet someone else and that's a lovely person and everything's going swimmingly, but your mind is doing its job. It's trying to protect you, right? So it starts to look for things that might be red flags. Maybe things are going too well. Maybe that person is cheating on you. Maybe they don't really love you as much as they say they do. Don't believe them, because if you do and they leave you, you're going to be hurt. Do you see how it works? Without a realization of what's going on, we're just blindly walking through life in this hypnotized state, listening to whatever the mind says. The mind is trying to protect you from all these bad things happening. You end up living in a very small and scary world, actually. This is where people get caught up. and exert enormous amounts of effort to try and reframe their thoughts and change the way they think, or stop thinking altogether. Good luck with that. But it just doesn't work, or it might work for a little while, or you just have to keep exerting huge amounts of effort, which is exhausting, as we all know. A much better way of dealing with what the mind is doing is to see what's happening and understand it. And then you can work with this, you see. You can work with it. Because when the mind starts doing its thing and filling you with these thoughts of dread of what might happen and what might go wrong. No, don't do that because you might fail, it might not work out. If you can notice those kinds of thoughts popping up or even consuming you, and you realize, well, wait a minute, that's not actually true. That's my mind trying to protect me from anything and everything that could possibly go wrong, because that's what it does. That's its job. So it has to think about everything that could possibly go wrong, and then about how we could stop that from happening, how we can avoid that, and how to deal with it if it does happen. And it totally ruins your life. It ruins your experience of life in this moment, because you're so busy listening to what the mind's making up. The mind is trying to protect your ego. Let's clarify what we mean by ego, because many of us understand the ego to mean some kind of lofty arrogance. You know, we say, oh, he's got a big ego, full of themselves, vain, that kind of thing. When I talk about the ego in these videos, and when you hear the word ego in the wisdom quotes that I present to you, we're talking about who we think we are, our false sense of self, our mind-created identity. For many of us, it's actually all we've ever known. This is why I create these videos, because we need to find out who we really are. If you don't realize who you really are, you're going to be stuck in this false sense of self. Your mind driving you nuts, using all your energy to figure out how everything needs to be for you to be okay. Is it any wonder we go through life the way we do? Most of us are familiar with the story of the ugly duckling. It's a wonderful illustration of what's happening in our experience. The ugly duckling was a little bird that all the other little ducklings would make fun of, because it wasn't pretty like the other ones were. It had this dirty grey look about it, and it got a lot of flack from its peers. Consequently, the ugly duckling went through life feeling less than, constantly comparing itself to the others, wondering why he looked so different and wishing that he could be like everybody else. Well, after a time, these little ducklings grew up, and one day the ugly duckling was gliding along the water, and the other birds said to him, "Ah, look at you! You're a beautiful swan." And the ugly duckling said, "Oh, go on. Stop messing around with me." And they said, "Look, no. Look at your reflection and see." So the ugly duckling looked down in the water, and there he saw a reflection of a beautiful white swan. Indeed, he had grown up to become a swan. All that time he had the swan nature, but he didn't realize it. He thought he was an ugly duckling. This is our story. We're convinced, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that we're ugly ducklings. Our mind is filled with beliefs about how we're not good enough, we don't measure up, how we're lacking. Oh, I'm no good at this, I'm rubbish at that, Everyone's better at me at that, so why even bother? You know, oh, I'm not going to do that because I'm no good at it. But the truth is, you're not an ugly duckling. Your true nature is divine, and it's temporarily housed in this human body. All your perceived limitations simply aren't true. Rather than focus on what you think is wrong with you and all the things you can't do that you'd like to do and be that you think you can't be, come to know your true nature. Come to know who you are, the deeper dimension of you, and discover the limitless potential that you have in living this life. Taking the ugly duckling as an example, the point isn't to analyze what the ugly duckling was feeling and to disprove those thoughts of not being enough. The point is that it saw its true nature. It saw what it really was. And it's the same with us. We can analyze our thoughts till the cows come home. But how useful is it really, and how empowering is it? Much better to have an insight about your true nature and to realize that you're not the person you always thought you were. You're not who your mind thinks you are. You're much deeper than that. You are the awareness, the one who is aware of it all, aware of your human experience, aware of your thoughts and feelings coming and going, aware of what feels right, even if it defies logic, and aware of what doesn't feel right for you. You have this inner guidance system, this intuition, this inner wisdom. And it's time to learn to live by it. It really is. Think of one thing right now, one thing that you've been resisting, that you've been arguing with, that's happening in your life. Whether it's something to do with a relationship, whether it's something to do with your health, something to do with your finances or work situation. There's always something that you've been fighting with, and you've been basically arguing with life saying, I don't like things being this way, I want them to be different. Here's something for you to try. How about if just for a moment you were okay with it? You can come back to all the stress of the problem in a minute. But just for a moment, take a conscious breath with me and let go of that thing that's been bothering you. Don't worry, I'm not asking you to commit to anything. We're just doing a little exercise here. In this moment, just for a few seconds, you're going to let it go. You're not going to push it away. You're just going to relax. Knowing that that situation is the way it is, you're going to simply relax into it and accept it just for a few seconds for what it is. I want you to experience that feeling of being okay with something that normally bothers you. Now your mind's going to kick off 100 miles an hour trying to reason with you. Yes, but, yes, but, yes, but. Never mind that. You can come back to that busy mind in a minute. Right now we're not paying attention to those thoughts. We're not paying attention to what happened, to what might happen. We're simply in this moment relaxing our being because we want to become conscious of this energy of resistance inside us. There's a lot of resistance there. There's been a lot of fighting, a lot of arguing about this thing within our being, and we want to relax. This matter that your mind has created a huge problem out of has been taking up a lot of your energy. It's been exhausting you, actually. This is an opportunity to give yourself a little break. We're not pretending it doesn't exist. You're not trying to convince yourself of anything here. Please don't do that. This isn't about forcing. This is about relaxing all the forcing, actually. And recognizing all the forcing that's been going on in your being. You can liken it to carrying around a rucksack full of stones, and you're so used to doing that that you don't realize the weight is there. And what we're doing is we're taking that off our back for a few moments so that you can feel the lightness of being, so that you can feel some relief. We're taking a pause from the problems, tuning into this calm, peaceful awareness of what we've been doing to ourselves, all the pressure we've been putting on ourselves, regretting, worrying. This takes up a lot of energy and time. We want to take a break from all that right now and in the coming year as well. It doesn't have to be difficult or complicated. It's simply a matter of taking a pause, taking a breath, and coming back to the awareness that you are in your true nature. Never forget that you're the awareness. So I challenge you this coming year to keep remembering who you are. Whenever you can, at least once a day, at least. Notice that energy of resistance. Notice the complaining mind. Realize what's going on. Realize that just like the ugly duckling, you've got caught up in a case of mistaken identity and forgotten your true nature. And come back to that beautiful awareness of knowing who you really are. Let the mind know you don't need its help right now. It's okay. You're taking a break from all the drama, just to breathe, just to be, taking some time out, time to let go of all that tension you have in your being that you've built up throughout the day, week, month, year, lifetime. Letting go of all that resistance so that you can start again with a fresh outlook and renewed energy, listening to the wisdom within you about these situations in your life, trusting that things don't have to be as difficult as we make them out to be. I wish you all a new year filled with wisdom, filled with self-realization, and everything that comes with that.